I'm in beautiful Santa Monica, California, really bike friendly. I see a lot of, yeah, right there, we've got some people on a tandem just cruising around town, these big green bike lanes, really love it. And a public bike store just opened up downtown. Really beautiful frames, kind of vintage European. This is a mixte type frame, so it's called the M8 Electric. And 8 stands for 8 speed. You can see a Shimano Claris derailleur. This is not a name that I'm as familiar with because it's actually like road bike specs. So there's like Ultegra, 105, all that. Claris is sort of like, mid-level, gets the job done, but it's kind of glossy, like nice looking derailleur. 8 sprockets, I believe it's 11 to 32 teeth back here, maybe 39 up front. I have the full specs back at the website and some extra measurements because this does come in 2 sizes. I think I'm on the medium small right now, which is like 17.5-inch seat tube, and the seat post itself is 27.2 millimeters. I'm mentioning that because sometimes it's nice with a bike like this that doesn't have suspension to add a suspension seat post, like a thud buster, a body float. Even the cheap ones on Amazon, they take the edge off a little bit more. But really dampening some of the vibration here is this nice steel frame. Of course, it is sort of that mid-step design, so the standover height's a little lower. Be careful when you're mounting this. There's kind of 2 ways you can put your foot through there. A lot of times I swing my foot over the back, but I've clocked my shin on this rack a couple times. It doesn't feel great. It's a little bit higher than a normal bike rack because you have to accommodate the little battery back here. It's an 8-pound pack. Offers a lot of capacity. It's got really nice cells in it. They have like a deep sleep mode, so if you haven't charged it for a while, it automatically shuts all power down, no phantom draw, and that's designed to help the cells from getting damaged. So it's 48 volts, 8.8 amp hours. That's definitely above average, and that's powering this nice motor down here. This is a 350 watt gearless direct drive hub motor, and it's bigger and it's kind of heavier than most hub motors you see. They're a little more compact, but it's so much quieter because there's no gears inside. It's really durable, and it offers regenerative braking and regen modes, 4 of them. So you could turn this into kind of a workout machine if you're just riding along in a flat section of town and you want to add some resistance. That's one of the really cool things. Also, the spoke gauge back here is like 12 gauge, I think like 2.6 millimeters or something. Versus up here, it's closer to 14. So what I'm trying to say is they've kind of reinforced it. They've built this up, double-walled aluminum rims that are paint matched to the frame, really nice. And then we've got these stainless nipples here that just add some strength. I love how everything on this bike matches. Everything from the aluminum rack we were talking about earlier. You could probably put like 15-ish pounds on this thing in addition to like the 8-pound battery. If you're ever moving the bike, sliding that battery off is a good idea. It just reduces the overall weight of the bike and it makes it more balanced. The balance point of the bike is like right here on the seat. I was lifting it earlier with one of the guys back at the shop, and that's even with the motor and the battery. I was really surprised because you don't really want tons of weight high and at the back or the front, but because it's all at the back, the front's more like a traditional bike, easy to steer, lightweight. I just find that sometimes I pick it up like this and I'm trying to move it, and then the bike sort of tries to flop over because of that weight. So this one's unlocked, and you can see that there's this core that's kind of popped out. So that means I can slide this out if I want to. Go ahead and do that. Looks like this. You can charge it on or off the bike right there in that little hole in the side. Putting it on is fairly easy. Doing it with one hand here. Kind of line it up on that track. There you go, and just push it in there, and then press this locking core piece in there. There it is, and now it's locked on. So that's a good thing to do for security, so if you're riding around it doesn't tumble out and get damaged, actually. Love that they have this neoprene wrapper here and keeping some of the wires clean and out of the way. And no slap guard over here, so this could get chipped up over time. Sometimes I take a clear piece of masking tape. Other times on Amazon or wherever you can find neoprene slap guards that are just like this that you can add to that chainstay if you want to. But again, love the aluminum chain cover. Love that they've got a chain guide here. These are alloy bash guards, one on each side, sandwiching that chain so it doesn't bounce off if you're going at high speed over bumpy terrain. It's really just a nice touch. Solid Welgo pedals. Yeah, nice. And aluminum alloy fenders front and rear, and they've got these nice support struts, so they really don't, there's a little bit of rattling that can happen, but you kind of tighten them up and it goes away. I really haven't heard a lot of it during my test rides. The frame is this glossy navy blue with these really cool, just kind of bright accents with the cables. And coming back to the cables, I was talking about the additional black cables here for the display panel and all the electronics. You can see they've got these little S hooks, and they're run along the down tube, which is fairly traditional, but a lot of electric bikes that are really purpose-built, they'll put them right through the frame so you don't have the cables. In this case, you know, maybe that's a cost savings measure. It makes this a little more modular, so if you need to do some work at a shop, they can get to the cables easier. And I think they've taken advantage of it with this nice Jaguar, and they've, you know, made it part of the fun, the color. So can't complain about that. Let's see. I think wanted to mention that the tires have these great reflective sidewall stripes, so that's going to give you some visibility from the side, in addition to just the fun sort of cream color of the tires themselves. 50 to 85 psi. I tend to run a little bit lower because I'm not super heavy. I only weigh like 135, and that can give you some vibration dampening in addition to the steel fork and steel frame. This is a little bit more forgiving than aluminum, and it might weigh a little bit more, but I don't know, I like the comfort of it. That's nice. And coming back to the seat post suspension as being an option, I'm always optimizing for comfort. Steel bars, and these are really like gull wing, kind of swept back, and they come back to you. And the padded grips, the faux leather matching that saddle just looks nice, and it brings it upright. So when you're riding, you're kind of heads up, you know, you're seeing where you're going, saying hey to your friends, just enjoying the scenery. Maybe you're at the beach, and we might head down there in a minute. So in addition to those reflective sidewall stripes, you've got an integrated reflector and light that's powered off the main battery. The only thing you don't have is a headlight, so you might want to get one of those little rubberized ones to point forward up here. We've got pretty big, easy to use brake levers, mechanical brakes, but you do have discs, okay? So it's 160 millimeter Avid with finger adjust, so you can kind of tighten them or loosen them without any tools. And over time, as the pads wear down, that's kind of a nice thing to be able to do more easily. A complaint I have is that in the rear, you'll see how big the hub motor is, just the diameter is bigger, and it blocks this other adjustment back here. You can't get to it with a tool. So I hear that this can be a little bit difficult to work on from some shops because it's just it's tight back there. You still have access to this one, and you know, you can still take off the wheel, but there's no quick release front or rear. These are kind of like 11 millimeter just axles, standard axles. And you'll notice there's also no quick release on the seat tube collar. So it's locked down. It's the kind of bike you can lock up at a rack, and no one's going to be able to take your stuff as easily. So yeah, good to know. Bottle cage bosses on the down tube, great to be able to bring your drink or your mini pump or whatever. And then again, just like a saddlebag back here can be really helpful. So let's talk about the electronics and how that works. It's a 350 watt hub motor, 40 newton meters of torque, really nice. But to get it going, you have to charge the battery, stick it on, and then do one thing and one thing only. You just press one of these buttons on the display and it comes on. And that's pretty cool to me. The display is removable, so you can press down on this tab and slide it off like that. Of course, it turns off when you do that. But this is nice when you're at a rack. No one's going to tamper with your bike when you take this with you, and it's not going to get the sun damage. So I'm going to slide it back on. You might notice that it's sort of symmetrically designed. The same buttons on the left and right, and you can reposition this with the reflector if you prefer it over here. A lot of times I see the assist adjust on the right, and this is a little variable speed throttle. I love that. You'll notice that it's not doing anything right now, even though the bike's on, and that's because there's like a 2 mile per hour speed lock. So unless you're moving this bike, the throttle's not going to activate, and that's a safety feature. They've designed it that way. Okay, so coming back to this, a lot of times they have this on the right-hand side, but in this case, you've got those trigger shifters with this window that kind of designates which speed you're in. So they've put it on the left. It did a little bit of getting used to, but not too bad. Overall, the cockpit's fairly clean, and I like the size of the display because you can see your speed, you can see the battery level. So there's like 8 bars, which is nice. It's way better than 4 bars I see on a lot of other bikes. And then down here, see it says distance. If we press this recycle button, it goes from distance to odometer to chrono, which is kind of like time riding, I think. And then average speed, clock, and back to distance. So a lot of cool stuff. If you hold the top right corner, the display actually becomes backlit. It says light on. You can't see it because it's pretty bright, but you might be able to see that. Yeah, that's the rear light that we were talking about earlier. It's really nice. A lot of times people add bike lights right here on the seat post, and then your coat or your jacket hangs over and it blocks it. you know, or you have like a bag right in front of your light, and it defeats the whole purpose. So having a light right down here at the very end of your bike is wonderful. Also, just having a kickstand, and one that's really big and sturdy. It's adjustable length. This is a Pletcher kickstand. Just very cool stuff. Nice setup. There are 4 levels of regen here. That's the workout mode I was talking about, where you actually charge the battery by riding. It's not super efficient. It's the kind of thing where you're going to be burning more energy by eating and then expending that energy to ride than you would be just charging this off the grid. You know, more and more solar and wind are coming online every year, so just, you know, you just charge it. It's like less than 10 cents to charge the whole battery. So let's arrow up. We go from nothing, this is just going to be a cycle computer, to level 1, level 2, level 3, and my favorite, level 4 for these tests. I always ride in the highest speed to try to show you how quiet the motors are, or loud. In this case, it's completely silent. And now we might just hop on and start pedaling. But as we do, note that the left brake lever here actually has a second wire coming out. And when you activate that, it turns from assist to regen, and there's a G, and that stands for generate. You can see that when I pull the lever, it activates. So that's the fancy stuff. That's part of why Bionics is one of the leading technologies, I think, in the hub motor market. It also has a torque sensor built in, so as you push progressively harder, you get more assist, and it's more responsive when you stop, when you start. That's kind of cool, versus a cadence sensor where it's just listening for, are they pedaling at all? Start. Are they stopping? Stop. It's just on off, whereas this is more dynamic in the power that you're being given. Okay. Yeah, so before I get on this, I want to say that the bike is $21.99. I think the price has gone down a little bit, and this company, you know, they sell predominantly online. They do have these shops and stuff, but they can sell this, I think, a little cheaper because they're direct to consumer that way, and they're always doing the sales and stuff, or, you know, whether it's a shipping deal. They have this thing called like Ready to Ride, where the bike's like in a really big box, and you can see that just the wheels are on the bike, the handlebars there. All you have to do is kind of twist the handlebar and add those pedals. So that's a really nice option that they have, because you might not have a shop between you and actually the bike riding it. It's nice that someone's actually looked at it. So here we go. Going out onto the bike lane, cruising along. I'm feeling the assist. You can listen for the motor. Using those disc brakes. Let's head over to the beach. Oh boy. It's just a beautiful place to ride right here. There's no sound from the zippiness. So I used the throttle that time to kind of zip along, and noticed that it was just a little bit of a delay as I'm easing off. This is a variable speed throttle, so you know, you kind of let out and it should respond. Sometimes the Bionic system, you know, there's a tiny bit of lag that I was feeling. It requires a little bit of getting used to. See my body position, I'm really upright, kind of relaxed. Can look forward and enjoy the sights. It's the pier way off in the distance. I'm gonna go off-road. Listen for those fenders. Not too bad, right? I was expecting to hear them rattling a little bit more, but I think they're locked down. Top speed on this bike is 20 miles per hour. It's class 2 because it has that trigger throttle, but that can be really nice when you're starting and when you just don't want to pedal along, when you want to like focus on the sights, keep your groceries stable, whatever the case may be. One thing that I've heard about this bike in particular is that people will want to add a trailer for their kids, and I think that the way that the rear axle's set up, because there's a torque sensor involved and because it's sort of a proprietary extra strength axle, there's not a whole lot of room, and maybe it's not the right size. And you'll notice that the disc brake caliper setup right there, that's the triangle where a lot of trailer attachments go. So you might need to do something custom. kind of anything's possible. Where there's a will, there's a way, but this isn't as easy to set up as some of the other bikes. One of the really cool things about Santa Monica is the hills by the ocean, and just being able to cruise along and go from the beach up into these beautiful houses and stuff. But up is the operative word here. There's some climbing involved, and this is enough power to really assist you and take you further and just, you know, conquer some of those challenges. I mentioned that the trailer can be difficult with this particular bike setup, but if you're carrying groceries or if you're carrying a basket, maybe you add a basket to the front, it's still really nice to have that power and to do it in such a way that you're not creating a lot of noise and you're stable. It's responding to you more quickly and more finely than some of those other systems that's on off. I feel like everything on this is more like variable, including the throttle, including the torque sensor. So I'm gonna go ahead and ride up some hills and just cruise around. You can listen for that motor again. Was up and down some hills. Now I'm going to do a forward view because we're up to a street. I'm going to try to keep up with traffic a little bit more easily. Speed of 20, but you can always arrow it down to level 1, 2, or 3, and I think you get kind of an additional 5 miles per hour or so with each bump up. So you don't have to go this fast if you don't want to. Comment on something I noticed about the mixte in particular. Because the frame is kind of this mid-step and you don't have that strong diamond, and even with the diamond shape one, just because there's so much weight back here that's high up, you get a little bit more crack the whip going on, you get a little bit more frame flex. It's really not too bad when you're just riding along and enjoying it, but when you stand up and you start to go for it and you start to pedal hard or just move the frame around with your body, you feel that. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. You know, a lot of times on road bikes and stuff, you want it stiff, you want power delivery. This is more like a city bike. You're just enjoying it and looking good. I think that's all I have to say. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's a beautiful frame, that mixte style from France. Has just a really cool aesthetic appeal to me. I think the price on this is good, and you know, you're getting a quality system that is smart enough to protect itself, easy to remove, and just quiet. And it really disappears once you put a bag or a basket on this. So for the full write-up on this, including more specs and pictures and stuff, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, have fun, ride safe.